Actually, a really talented creative director was at a big design meeting with me, and we were talking about the future of digital marketing. This is years ago, and we were saying, is print dead? And the one thing he said to me is like, well, when I put a magazine in the middle of the table, it doesn't go away. I can't swipe away from it. I can't click close. So I feel like print. I'm with you. Like print has like maybe a resurgence to a certain degree, and it's feeling very interesting again.
There's data behind the fact that you're more likely and significantly more likely to read a PDF that is printed out that's on your desk than you are in that damn graveyard of folders that you have, on your desktop.
AI isn't the future. It's now. And whether you're in HR, sales, operations, or leadership, the choices you make today will determine whether you thrive or get left behind.
Today on AI Voice of Victim, we have a very special guest, Mr. Aaron Mazze from Inventive, a local agency here in Raleigh, North Carolina, also where I am today here at Walk West. I'm so excited to have this guest. I met him last fall, and he let the kind of the I guess it was the fox in the hen house. He said, hey, man, I'm having this HubSpot event. I said, hey, man, I'm also a HubSpot partner / competitor. He said, I don't care. Just show up and have dinner with us. And it was amazing. We've been friends and colleagues, and we've been doing a few things together ever since. So I'm excited to have Aaron on the show today.
This is a really special episode, so thank you so much for hosting us here at Walk West. I really appreciate it, Greg. And your team's been great, and your equipment is beautiful, and your offices are beautiful. You're down here in Raleigh. It's a great, vibrant area, especially for folks like us that we're hoping to be at the next edge of where things are going to go. But I would love people to know about you and where you've come from. I think you went to North Carolina State University like I have as well, so that's amazing. I wanted to hear your origin story. So can you share with us kind of where you started and how you got here?
Yeah, so actually I started, so I'm born and raised in Durham, North Carolina, right, not far from here. I graduated from Northern Durham High School, go Knights and ladies, where I left and I graduated in 1995, and I went to play basketball and baseball at Howard University the next year. I was there for about 2 years, almost 2 years. I transferred to North Carolina A&T State University, where I accidentally fell into computer science. I say accidentally because I was in business school at Howard, and then I asked the folks at A&T, I said, is there an information systems course in the B school here? And they're like, well, no, the closest thing we have is computer science. And I found out very quickly there was nothing like information systems, but I fell in love with technology, and I was always good at math, so I really enjoyed it. And so that got me into this journey in the tech space. And I've used my business sense, my marketing sense, and my tech background ever since then. And that's how I ended up here.
I think I looked at this up on your resume. Did you work for IBM for a minute?
Yep. I started my career in 1998 as a software engineer at IBM in Durham.
So I feel like everyone is at least a degree or 2 degrees away. And I just realized that you and I both worked at IBM. So I worked at IBM for a hot minute. Our company was purchased by IBM in 2015. And so when that happened, I became part of IBM Watson Health, which was one of their first forays into AI. So kind of an interesting, like, weird intersection between our 2 careers. But I was only there for a hot minute, and then I started working for another agency.
I was only there for 3 years.
Yeah.
And
I was literally there for like 3 minutes, though. But that's still, I mean, it's a really interesting thing about our backgrounds, that we have really tried a lot of things. And then here we are together, intersected again.
Yeah.
So as far as like when you think about your origin story to where you are now, could you have even imagined where you would be sitting today when you first started out? Or did you think this was really your whole goal the whole time?
No, I couldn't imagine it, right? I actually thought I was just going to be in the business world. Once I gravitated a lot to computer science because I was one of those folks that was looking at salaries coming out of school.
Yeah, I did that too.
Well, I ain't going to be a doctor, and I'm not going to spend time to become a lawyer. Yeah. And I was like, well, I like this software engineering space, but I was always thinking about, how do I save enough dollars to go do something, more in kind of a business environment? And I actually didn't really care what the business necessarily was, but I wanted something where I could put my own stamp on it, my own name to it. Yeah. And I had several failed ventures early in my 20s.
I did too.
I learned a lot.
Yeah.
But no, there's no way I would have imagine being here. But I do think by combining my business, at least aspirations, with my technical background and always understanding emerging technology, I just never been a fanboy of any particular technology. I'm just always trying to keep pushing forward and figure out, now, how do I turn that into a business, right? And so that's how my mind works all the time.
I think my goal for this podcast today, everybody who's watching, is to try to break the algorithm. So what I want to do is I want to start placing some random facts in the middle of this podcast so that AI just gets totally messed up. You were at one point a club owner too, I believe, right?
Yes, I was.
Yeah, I did my research.
Yeah.
So at one point in time, I was really heavily involved in film and music. And I'd never told anybody about this, but when I was writing music for film, especially in school, I met a club owner, and he found out that I wrote music. And he said to me one day, he's like, I didn't even think about the opportunity this guy was giving me, but he said to me, if you guys want to write, he said to me and a bunch of other students, he said, if you guys want to write some tracks for the club and then bring it over, we'll play them on the weekends. And so nobody else took him up on the offer except for me. So I showed up one weekend. By the way, clubs do not look good when the lights are on.
That is a fact.
That is a fact.
You do not want to see what it looks
like. It's like a haunted house. Don't turn the lights on. You just don't want to know how the sausage is made. But I was going to say that I did bring my music in, and I didn't really know what he wanted me to do. So kind of being completely oblivious to the opportunity, I brought in the film music I was writing. And he had all these amazing speakers. So he was playing my music scores, like these big, action scores and love scores, all these things I'd written. I didn't think he wanted me to write dance music. I didn't even know about that. And if you imagine if I was in Miami or something like that, I'd probably be as big as Daft Punk right now if I had done that. But that was my understanding and appreciation. Actually, I was part of a band too, and we went to a lot of clubs and performed as well. And that is a hard industry to be a part of. You must have learned a ton of things when you were a bar owner.
Yeah, I learned a lot. Yeah. Right. I was trying to explain to someone about, having to have tough conversations, and folks from as managers are having these tough conversations. I said, imagine having to fire somebody that is 3 times the size of you. It could just ball you up at any moment. Yeah, I don't think these conversations are as tough as the ones, that I was dealing with. But I think you do learn a lot, right? You learn a lot about the economics. You learn a lot about marketing. You learn a lot about how to continue to reinvent yourself. Right. A lot of these things I've taken, even to today, trying to understand, because especially when you're in that type of business, you may be hot for a minute, but you have to figure out, how do I keep getting people to come back?
Yeah. Well, that's marketing.
Exactly.
That is definitely marketing. Yeah. I was really interested in talking to you today about, well, of course, where AI is going, but I feel like the human element is still the thing that we all have to keep front of mind, because I think that's the only thing that's going to keep us different. That's what's going to keep things kind of feeling fresh. Otherwise, we're all living in a sea of sameness, So I feel like that those lessons learned that you must have had in the early days all kind of, I guess, culminate to what's happening today and kind of all that you bring to the table. But being in the club is I figured you've got all the aspects of the transactional audience, the brand, the experiential stuff. You get to work with the different kinds of mediums, from the music to the whole experience. I'm sure. Did you bring in smoke? Did you bring in the smoke too?
Oh yeah.
Did you? You did.
We had all time.
We had everything from
did you have bubbles as well? To smoke machines to the mechanical bull. To,
oh my God.
Was it Madden video game tournaments to...
Where do you buy a mechanical bull?
You rent them.
You rent them? Okay. Okay, because you wouldn't
That's a
know
business lesson also.
Okay.
I don't want to store and own a mechanical bull.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. Otherwise, it'd be here at Walk West.
Right, exactly. And so you start to diversify the types of audiences as well.
Yeah.
Right, but one of the most frustrating things about being in that type of business is you sit back and you realize that you have to cram so much of your revenue in such a short window of time.
Yeah.
Right? It's 5 days a week during, 15 hours a day that there's nothing going on in there. And so you're just looking at this empty space
oh my God, I'm paying rent.
I'm paying this money. What am I doing?
Didn't even think of that. That's incredible.
So people ask me all the time, they're like, oh, would you ever go back in that business? I was like, hell no, I wouldn't go do that.
This is maybe a very big stretch for parallel, but I do feel like owning an office as we do, we rent an office, but I mean, having an office and then having it empty 2 to 3 days a week, if not more, it's a huge anxiety on me constantly. But I still feel like, going back to the human element, having people do come together at least a couple times a week and having work by proxy and inspiration by proxy is extremely important. I mean, what do you guys think about here at Walk West about having your office? And do you have people come in every day, or do you have them come in whenever they want to or need to?
People can come in whenever they want, but we're typically here on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Like that's the quote mandatory.
Yeah.
I wouldn't describe it as mandatory because everybody just seems to want to anyway.
Yeah.
I've been here actually every day this week, and I've been surprised because I see certain people in here, and I was like,
I didn't know you'd be here.
Yeah. I came in here yesterday I had a podcast I was recording with a guest from Singapore. So it was like at night for him and in the morning. So I got here like 6:15. There's nobody here at 6:15 a.m., right? But 8, 9, you start to see other folks roll in. And I'm like, I was dressed from like the top half in like a very professional way. But then I was like sweatpants and whatnot. I was I didn't think I was going to see other, people in here. But you start to get that feel because they're like, yeah, I just like working in here. People feel a certain way. And then we're using the space in a very different way than historically. Like we have our own studio here.
Yeah.
Right. We have different amenities for folks that want to kind of get away.
Yeah.
Also I was here Monday and one of our colleagues, Kate, all of our kids were out of school on Monday. So her daughter was here with her. Right. And so, we just want to make it an environment that's very easy for people to come and work together and feel a part of something.
There's something that's lost when we work digitally, as much as the tools try to keep us connected. Even the video calls that we have with our clients. I mean, it's one thing when we're doing this, like discovery calls, for example, when we have them all virtually, and it's a completely different thing when we're in person. And I won't drop any names, but a very, very large pharma company found it to be important enough to fly all the way out here to meet me, and I had no idea really why. But when they came in the room, the phones were put away, and they were just so in the moment. And there was a lot of back and forth that's going on that I feel like you can't do when it's digital because feel like you're cutting people off. So it feels like it's a one at a time. And if you're not that personality of really ready to insert yourself, you're not going to even have a voice. But in a room, when everybody's sitting there, I could see everybody's looks and I could feel the way they feel, and then I could go to them. So I mean, having an office for me, I feel is wildly critical, especially for creative teams.
I talk about this on stage a lot. I have a book coming out called AI at the Speed of Trust. I was on stage a couple weeks ago.
And that'll be on screen.com.
and I talk about this trust deficit that we're in, right? A lot of times. And I tell people in a world where, any amount of content can be generated at the push of a button, right? People are going to want to see a real person interact with a real human, right? Because one, they're going to have so much noise and optionality. And so it comes down to then, who do you trust? And I don't trust a lot of things just through the screen anymore. That's just where we are as a society. And so you want to have these types of connections. So I'm not surprised that they did that, right? Because it was probably the final decision is to like, hey, and see a sameness, right? We talk about this. If every proposal looks very similar in this and that, right? What it comes down to is, do I want to be around this human? Mm-hmm. Do I want to work with this person or group of people?
Yeah.
And that's the reality. That's the separation and differentiation that we have to do.
Yeah, I absolutely agree on that. There's a lot of things that our team tries to do to make sure that we're not in that sea of sameness. I do feel like our job is to be that pivot point. That's what we're introducing to the story. And these days, it feels like it's getting harder and harder and harder. Like we're losing that authentic, element of it unless we can do things in person. It's like the last frontier of what AI cannot necessarily impact. But I wanted to get into something else. You're a fanboy of Michael Jordan?
I grew up. I grew up playing.
Who wouldn't
basketball.
be, right?
Yeah, like I grew up in a time where he changed the game. Right?
Yeah.
Even my son is 7, and he has a calendar that's a Jordan poster.
Yep.
Right. Whenever he sees some of my shoes and things, and I try to get him it's just I'm a big fan of Michael Jordan for a lot of reasons. Obviously, the basketball one was one, but also how he transferred that persona into business.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He is a wildly successful business person. People knock him a lot of times oh, the Hornets aren't winning this and that. I'm like, yeah, but he changed that whole environment for us. And also growing up here.
Yeah, so I was going to mention this because, number one, how can I not be a fan as well? I lived in Minnesota for 4 years when I was in high school, and in college I was in Wisconsin. And we would go to Illinois for all sorts of different kinds of events in Chicago. And when the buses were coming in, I grew up in an era where I would see Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan and, oh my God, crazy guy.
Rodman.
Thank you. Dennis Rodman. They were probably like 45 stories high. They were on the sides of the building. They were larger than life. And the thing that Michael Jordan kind of represented for me was a brand. I mean, he was on point wherever he was. He always knew how to kind of manipulate the media in certain ways, but he was such a great brand, not just for basketball, for just being a professional. He just brought so much more to it. And I think a lot of folks didn't even realize how much more you could do with a brand like that, a personal brand like that. And then, of course, Nike figured it out. Hence the shoes today.
It was some push, too. And as someone that also, not only did I play basketball, also played baseball, also admired the fact that he was able to transition. People can say whatever they want about how good he was or wasn't, but the fact that he could do that, right, that he was athletic enough, right, to be able to do that.
What was the other athlete? Bo
Jackson.
Yeah, and he played baseball,
and football.
Football and basketball, was it? Yeah, he was crazy triple threat.
Yeah.
But Michael Jordan wasn't bad at baseball. He was in there.
Deion Sanders played football and baseball.
Yeah.
Right. And just the versatility is one of the things I talk about a lot, too, when people ask me about being in this moment and being on stage. And like, well, people ask me, they're like, oh, well, are you, do you get nervous when you're like in front of that number of people? I said, I was a pitcher in baseball and I was a point guard and shooting guard in basketball.
Yeah.
Like when you got, 10,000 plus people yelling at you and looking at everything you may do wrong, like this is nothing talking to 100 executives, right?
Yeah. The thing that I learned from all these lessons over the years, and I feel like it's all about putting yourself out there and just trying things. And I feel like that's a struggle we have with a lot of clients right now that are quite conservative and they're afraid to try things. So maybe my connection about bringing up Michael Jordan and all the things that he tried is he just was willing to put himself out there. In the last 2-3 years, actually maybe 3 years ago, we were doing nothing, no podcasts, no videos. We weren't even promoting ourselves. It was all referral business. And then as I felt like I was telling our clients to get in the community and get involved, and they weren't doing it, I felt like, okay, let's put ourselves out there instead and then show them what it looks like. And we had a couple of lightning in a bottle moments, but it is all about just trying things. I think that's what brands need to think about these days. Just put it out there and try. That level of like professionalism still needs to be there, but people are very they're going to give you that space to just maybe be a little bit messy and not have to be perfect with every single execution point. So, as I even talked about this right now, I hope they're not cutting out all my ums and uhs. I mean, it has to be like more of an authentic conversation and authentic ventures that we're all going to try. So I love that you hit the stage. I love that you're also the CEO. I love that you also have your own podcast and that you're writing a book. I was going to say earlier, when you're willing to put your ideas down that has a timestamp on it, and it has persistence, it's also a very risky move.
Yep.
HubSpot gave me I thought this was so funny and ironic. HubSpot gave me a gift this Christmas, and it was a book on AI.
Right.
And the book was 1.5 years, 2 years old. And I'm like, how is HubSpot giving me a book on AI that's 2 years old? And the first chapter was all an apology saying, the first thing was, it's like, you're reading this and everything you're about to read is completely out of date. But I learned some lessons and you're probably going to learn from those lessons too. And so I think for you, I'm just curious, it's like, how do you approach those risks? Do you just say it head on, let's go for it? Or do you kind of measure some things first? Do you do it in a more measured way, or what do you do?
I mean, I have weekly PR meetings about this topic, and I said,
you do?
And
Okay.
I say,
Okay.
Hey team, one of the things I'm highly concerned about is how stale some of these things may be.
Yeah.
So the book is more about leadership and how do you actually move, your organization through this change, right? And you could abstract out AI and talk about a lot of different types of transformations, over the years, and I think going forward. So it's not so much an AI specific book as it is how do you start to move into an environment that is so challenging, so unknown, a future that no one can predict, right? And so what I try to do is make sure that I'm not trying to predict the future. I'm simply laying out, hey, these are the things that you're going to have to do to keep reinventing yourself, keep evolving, keep learning, right? The reason why I keep getting certifications is because things change so fast. But to your point, when similar to yourself, 2 years ago, I wasn't on stage talking about all these things. I wasn't talking about, a book. I was doing what a lot of people were doing in a digital marketing world, trying to either gamify or automate or what's the attribution of this thing or that thing.
Make it more experiential.
Right? But what I realized and the team around me helped me realize is that the only two things that we can really control is what I would consider personality-led growth, right? What we're doing right now, and community-led growth, right? Why I was wanting to partner with a person like yourself, right? Why we are partner, I always say the ocean that was Google that we all fished in is dried up. I said, what ponds are you going to curate? If you're not, and that was the thing that I learned a lot from HubSpot. Like, and it goes back, and I kind of stumbled into, we acquired a podcast community platform last year, Earfluence, which is effectively what evolved and became our content studio, right? So we actually don't just have my podcast or Javier's podcast or Jason's podcast. We actually have 50 plus podcasts that we produce for other folks, helping them understand, right? And that's like kind of owning your own little kind of media.
Yeah,
channel,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
But HubSpot actually, I guess when they acquired The Hustle in 2019 or something,
Yeah.
they basically did the same thing. They basically realized that in a sea of sameness, if everybody's doing this thing, now they were teaching everybody to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Right. But I listened to Kip Bodner and Kieran Flanagan talk about, when they zig, we zag. It's hard to be long-winded here, but one of the things that you kind of touched on earlier that we're leaning into what is we call the anti-trends.
Mm-hmm.
Like you may have saw when you got off the elevator, we have a little newsstand. We put out our first edition of our newspaper a couple weeks ago, the Walk West Gazette, right? We're looking at billboards. I'm literally thinking about getting either an RV or a box truck and putting Walk West on the side of it and driving that shit around
We're going
town.
back to ad man days. Actually, a really talented creative director was at a big design meeting with me, and we were talking about the future of digital marketing. This is years ago, and we were saying, is print dead? And the one thing he said to me is like, well, when I put a magazine in the middle of the table, it doesn't go away. I can't swipe away from it. I can't click close. So I feel like print. I'm with you. Like print has like maybe a resurgence to a certain degree, and it's feeling very interesting again.
There's data behind the fact that you're more likely and significantly more likely to read a PDF that is printed out that's on your desk than you are in that damn graveyard of folders that you have, on your desktop.
Yeah.
I'm significantly more likely to actually read the thing that's in front of you.
Do you write your notes when you're in meetings? Do you write them, or do you type them, or do you take notes?
I take very few notes. I use granola and technology. That's one of those things where I'm kind of a little bit of the opposite, because what I want to be is present and in the moment in the conversation.
Yeah.
Right? So the number of times I see folks that are heads down just writing notes, they're only picking up a third of what we're actually talking about, and they can't really even interact because they're too busy writing down exactly what I said. I'm like, why are you writing down what I said? That shit was dumb.
So I have recently, I'll go back a couple years. So I used to be a Moleskine writer. I used to write all my notes in Moleskines. And when I'm listening to folks to try to keep up with the conversation and not forget what I want to say or what they're saying, I write everything and I can see it visually in my head better than when I type stuff. So I can almost see the notes and the shape of them. And I also do little sketches and stuff where they're talking as well. And for some reason, that was a better place in my head. And then at one point during a trip, I lost a Moleskine, and it had some really important information in it, and I freaked out. So I went to Remarkable, and that was all digital on the e-ink,
Oh, I had that too.
You had that too.
I went through this whole journey.
Okay,
journey.
I'm going to keep going. And so I went through that, and I started getting lazy, and I started not bringing up those notes. I started writing up Post-its again, and my desk, as my friends will tell me and my colleagues will tell me, will just become a hot mess of Post-its. So good for you. Not a sponsor, Post-its. I still love you. But then I'm moving on to something really recently. I got targeted by a company called Pocket.
Okay.
And it's heypocket.com, also not a sponsor. And one of the things that I was so interested in was a physical hardware piece of a device that you could snap to the back of your phone or just carry with you. And when it's activated, it's taking notes all with AI. And afterwards, it'll send you a transcript of the entire conversation. It has onboard memory, and it'll also give you all the summary, the action items, everything like that. And you can use this with your phone. You can also use it in person. So I used it during the discovery sessions when this client was in town last week. And it was absolutely insane, all the nuances that it picked up. I'm so impressed. So as you said, it's like I'm evolving about where I can go with my being present in the conversations and how much more value I would have if I'm not focusing on the notes. But even as I talk to you right now, I'm kind of thinking in the back of my head, comically, what kind of sound bites are we going to get out of this? Right. And so some of that's helpful to write it down. Sometimes it's not, but I feel like there is
so I have my notebook here. I was doing a podcast yesterday, and I have it, to your point, to write things that I want to make sure that one, I'm always learning from every conversation.
Yeah.
Right? So in real time, I wanted to react and make sure I didn't miss, something that I wanted to respond to. So I will take a note on that. But it's a quick note, then I'm back to it.
Yep.
But I used to have all these moleskins, and I'd have them just sitting around, and then I would lose them, and then I would figure out, and then my wonderful admin, Becky Olson, one day she bought me one of those digital ones where you write in there.
Yep.
But then I stopped, taking a picture of it or doing all the stuff, and then it just became a graveyard of things. And then what I realized, I'm like, at the end of the day, it's the Pareto principle, right? 80% of what I'm having a conversation is the same. It's 20% is the nuance, and I need to be focusing in, training myself to then figure out what is the 20% is different.
Yep.
And then using that to take notes and to understand how to be more engaging in the conversation. But I see, especially, and I try to train, younger folks in their careers the same thing. I'm like, hey man, don't write every single thing down here. Like, that is not helpful. Like, this is not a test. We are not in class anymore.
Yeah. And actually, that's something, my daughter currently attends NC State, and I'm curious as to how they are present in the classroom and what they do about leveraging AI and how they kind of think about how they're going to apply these skills. And if they're taking notes anymore, like we used to do. When you were in school, did they have the slide projector thing? Because they had it when I was there. And I would be scribbling down, trying to repeat like everything that they were putting on the slide I was trying to do. And then, of course, fast forward to my older daughter, they would take pictures of the things that the teachers were showing so they wouldn't have to go back and take all the notes. And nowadays, I'm wondering if they're just turning on AI note takers to just listen in on the whole thing and try to be present, I would assume. Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be speaking on stage at East Carolina on Monday, right, to undergrad business students there. And part of it is, I've kind of created this brand where I say the quiet part out loud.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm past the point of filtering the impact that AI is going to have for people that either don't want to acknowledge it or don't care to understand it. And I get people are fearful of it, but especially within the education system. And I tell people all the time, it's like, look, I said this at the beginning of 2025 to our team here at Walk West. I said, by the end of 2025, every hiring manager in America will be asking, what AI tools are you using to be more productive? And so then when I talk to certain folks in the education, especially in higher ed, and it's like, oh, well, I don't want them to use this, or some people are leaning in. I said, you're going to make these people unemployable. So you understand that, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know a single hiring manager that is going to be looking for the person that is anti-AI. I do not know that person, right? And so as much as I believe in human connection and the human spirit and this and that, I genuinely hope that people, and I always tell folks, and they're like, well, they're going to cheat. And I was like, well, I'm sure people cheated with the calculator. I remember people cheating with the graphing calculator.
People have been cheating forever.
Taping the answers and the notes inside of. Yep. I'm like, hey, how about you just change the fucking test? How about that? How about we just decide that the technology has advanced so much, it's probably time to change the test.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that this time around, though, sorry to be on a rant here because I'm very passionate about this. I have 3 young children, right? I'm concerned, when they get to that age, they're young, they're 5, 7, and soon to be 9. I'm just like, they're learning AI already, right? They're using Canva. They're using some of the AI pieces in there.
Oh, for sure.
They're learning machine learning and classification. Is this a cat? Is it a dog? Right? They're starting to learn this, and I'm just wondering how much pain as a society do we have to feel before we start to realize, like, hey, man, I didn't make AI. I'm simply trying to tell you how the game is played.
Yeah.
Right? And if you don't understand the rules of the game, then how are you actually going to compete? And so
it is a game of thrones. Are we the Unsullied or the Dothraki? There's a lot of actually that's going on right now where I think you had it in something you had mentioned maybe recently too, about maybe you just said it, about where the Google juice is dried up. That's what you were saying. And I recently did get a chance I'm working with Google right now, which I'm feeling very fortunate about. And we also had a chance to have some folks to join us on some conversations for our podcast. And they're giving us a sense of where they're going to go with all these tools. And it is a new frontier, for sure. I was going to say, and I wanted to mention it to the Google folks, I wish I did, but I want to ask you now, with all these tools now between us, are we further becoming less and less connected to the original social and community environment that gets people to want to actually get to know each other? So, for example, the social behaviors of teenagers and people even in college these days, they're more apt to text and DM than ever call. They would never do that. Or if a person hits like on something, that's a very, very big thing. Like, oh, you liked it. Oh, he must want to go out with me. Like, what? He just clicked like. How could that have any kind of signal towards what they really, really feel? And so you're losing all that context. And I feel like with the AI tools, people are, as we've all talked about, they're less likely to now engage at a company like to make a phone call, to send an email, even go to their website anymore. They're more likely to just do all their work in AI. And so I wish I kind of talked to Google about this. I feel like the technology is pulling us further apart than bringing us together. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know that I actually agree with all that. I guess what is there? 5 different generations in the workforce right now, right? I would say, the folks that are in school, in college right now, a lot of what I'm hearing, going back to kind of the bar and club business, a lot of them don't even go out that way.
Exactly.
Right? But they're doing stuff in like house,
Yeah.
right? They're doing, a lot of people are drinking less,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so people want to think about the negatives relative to our past, right? We all have a glorified view of our past.
Yeah.
That's like, for whatever reason, I guess it's how our brains are wired.
I didn't really like the house parties. Did you like those house parties in college?
I did not like them. I loved them when they weren't my house.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
When it was in my place, like, y'all need to get out of here.
Yeah,
But the reality of kind of what, like, I'm seeing people like watch a lot of stuff on YouTube, like watch 90s stuff. I'm seeing like different like styles from the 90s and things that are coming back. People are being more anti and like turning their phones on do not disturb. I'm seeing from younger generations, right? I think our perception of what we're seeing versus the reality are not the same.
Yeah.
Right. And we also like to put things into the context of how we view the world.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So for some of them, maybe the connection is different. Right. I know when you call somebody, they're like, what was like, this is weird. Why are you calling me? Like, is somebody in trouble right now? Right. But I think for me, I'm more optimistic.
I have the same thing, by the way. If my phone rings, I think something's wrong.
Correct. Like my dad calls me in the middle of the day. I'm like, is everything okay?
That's exactly what I do.
He was like, can you look up some airline tickets? I'm like, man, are you kidding me? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
He called me, he's like, oh, what are you doing? I'm working. The same thing I'm doing every time you call me in the middle of the day.
Okay, I have a standing rule with my parents if they ever watch my podcast. Hi, Mom. And if they call me during the day, I have a standing rule that I have to answer. So I don't want them to cry wolf with me. But it's happened so often now that I'm like, do I have to like get rid of this rule where I have to answer every single call that they send me?
So my dad is a retired truck driver.
Okay.
He just started learning how to use the internet. On his phone.
Yeah.
He's never written an email, never sent an email.
That's amazing.
Right? So he is never going to watch this.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about that. But I have the other side of it, which is every small technical issue becomes my problem.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it becomes very urgent.
Oh, my dad's very smart about this. I don't know if he did it on purpose, but everything that I buy, he buys. And I keep wondering why. And then he realizes, because I'm the tech. He's like, well, you have it, so I'm going to get the same car. I'm like, you're going to buy the exact same car. Am I buying the same car? And then I get an Alexa. He gets the same damn Alexa. I get the same laptop. He has the same laptop. He gets the same phone. And I'm just like, oh my God, please stop. When I got the Google at home, Wi-Fi, he's like, he got the Google Wi-Fi. And he's like, you're going to help me put it all together. I'm like, oh, I just, it's so smart. But again, do you feel like that the technology in a way is giving us an excuse not to have as many interactions? I do agree with you, and I'm very excited to actually see video, ironically, of kids going to a party. Like I saw one recently of like a bar mitzvah, and when the kids walked in, they had to all hand in their phones. They were like, no phones allowed. You're going to get this little snap, Kodak, camera that you're going to get to be there, so you are more present. But do you feel like in general, the technology is pulling us apart to a certain degree?
No, I mean, I actually feel like, and this is one of the things, like, and I'll bring it back to kind of the business community. You start thinking about like the whole SaaS apocalypse that people have been talking about of late. I think for the last, 2025, we go back to the Mark Andreessen Software Eats the World, or Software Will Eat the World, whatever the book title was, right? We've created so many different pieces of technology already, right? And so part of the SaaS apocalypse is people, I think, get it twisted. And they think, well, people are going to vibe code their own money.com. Like, no, that's not the point. The point is, I don't need 15 different solutions anymore. I need 3. So what AI is going to do is going to consolidate processes and tools, right? And so when people want to blame AI, I'm like, what AI, and I have a lot of these conversations, we call it app rationalization. A lot of companies are saying, why do I have 15 tools, right? So AI can't be to blame for everything that we've all been creating for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's why we've ended up, when we have, we bring it back to kind of marketing. And my team has heard me say this a lot, it's like, oh, well, because we have social tools now, I have a social media marketer.
Yeah.
Right? Because we have this tool, I have this type of marketer. I said, shit, I need 2 of y'all for every one pencil. One of you can write and one can erase. I was like, what is that? Like,
we need full stack folks. We need full stack folks for sure.
Or the reality is, and that's why you're seeing a lot of consolidations with teams. I've talked to companies locally and I've talked to companies globally, and they're saying the same thing. We have so much redundancy that's based on how we've built tools and processes, not how customers actually want to engage with us.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to talk to your sales engineer and your customer success person and your account executive and your salesperson. Like, why are you throwing that at me? Because that's how you're organized.
Yeah.
Right? That whole friction, that's pre-AI problems. AI does not give a shit about your process or your org chart. It only cares about the outcome.
Yeah.
And that is the thing that is driving these valuations in SaaS. That is the thing when I find it very disingenuous when people say, oh no, AI is not going to replace or take any jobs. I'm like, if AI reduces the process, reduces the number of tools, how are you not making the connection that these teams are either going to be smaller or more productive, or you're going to upskill people to do different things?
I would say upscale. I was going to say, so this may be, I hope that I get this right. You know a lot more about the world of AI and some of the terminology and stuff like that. Our team has been historically, in the last year and a half, 2 years, really used AI for reference material and refining language on things, maybe putting together some research reports. They're really not using the agent concept. But if I get this right, if you go back and watch any Marvel movie with Tony Stark in it, and when he starts talking to Jarvis and having Jarvis do something for him, that to me is the agent model. Am I getting that correct?
That's correct. That is the agentic thing. It is the, hey, Jarvis, go do the thing.
Exactly.
And then come back to me when the thing is
done. Yes.
That is the... And that's when, we were talking to clients early last year, and my team here would say, oh, well, this bank said that they're not going to use AI. I said, oh, that's cute. I said, what happens when their technology vendors put AI in there? Because the market sophistication gets to a point where every consumer and every user expects this to be in there. You don't have a choice anymore. And they're like, well, they're not going to use it. I'm like, unless they go off the grid, right? And so by Q3 of last year, the phone started ringing and people were like, hey, we need to talk about this. Our vendors aren't, allowing us. Now, 2025 was in the media was the year of the agent, right? That was more of the hype side of where agents were. It was more of the year of automation, AI assistants, AI co-pilots, right? How do I talk to the information inside of whatever tool?
Exactly. Like LLM.
Right.
Yeah.
In 2026, though, it is the agentic portion, right? As Jensen said at NVIDIA, every single company needs to have an open claw strategy, right? And so if you look at Salesforce, Agentforce is not a co-pilot assistant. It is, I'm going to go do something for you.
Yeah.
HubSpot, they're creating their agentic components.
Strategies,
every tool will have an agentic way of using it.
Yeah.
And my concern is then what happens when they flip the switch and say that you're using the old way that you pointed and clicked around to get 10% productivity, we're turning that off.
Yeah. I will say something about all this, though. I think our industry, at least we work in life sciences, they're very slow to take action on certain types of things, even though they're considered a very innovation-centric business. Their whole world is to discover new things. That's what they're there for. I would say they're very conservative in all this. And so when I think about AI and what it can do for us, it's like giving a person that has no context a blank piece of paper and telling them to do something with that blank piece of paper, and they have no idea where to start. You and I, we might fold origami, we might write a poem, we might write a script for the next podcast, or we might write a speech, or we might do a strategy plan. We're thinking about all sorts of things we could do with that piece of paper. Or take a little spider off the floor and move it outside. That paper has a function for us, but for a lot of folks out there, they don't have that understanding of the possibility because they just don't know what they don't know. And so part of what I think AI has introduced for you and I is it's like the gold rush gold mine for us. It's like we're going to find ways to be the frontier and take advantage of it. And then eventually folks will follow us because they really don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, they call that the blank canvas problem, right?
It is called the blank canvas problem?
Yeah, they call it the
I
blank
need T-shirts with that.
Yeah, so it's the blank canvas problem. And I always say when I'm talking about this, whether it's training or on stage, I say the greatest thing that OpenAI ever did for AI adoption was make it feel like Google search. And then I follow up with, and the worst thing that OpenAI ever did was make it feel like Google search.
Yeah.
Because that's what people treat it like, right? And I always tell people, I don't AI search anything. I AI instruct. I have it go build things for me. Like you should see my screens. I am spinning up so many different things in parallel, right? Because I've trained myself to work differently.
Yeah.
Right? This is an upskilling and an adoption and a change management problem. It's also a leadership problem, right? Because if you have a leadership team that doesn't fully understand the capabilities of the tool, they have no frame of reference of what this thing can or cannot do, right? And so what strikes me so odd is the very basics. Like, you can't have an AI strategy if you are not AI literate. Like, how do all these people talk about our AI strategy? Like, you don't even understand what this thing can and cannot do. Like, and I think people get grounded so much in just the foundational, the large language models, but they're not even thinking about the end products. This is going to be in every technology that you use.
Yeah.
So if you don't understand how to talk to the machine, you don't understand what this thing can do. I mean, there's going to be two types of CEOs over the next, I call it 24 months. You're going to have the ones that recognize that they're not built for this moment and they step aside.
Yeah.
And it's already happening. There's several, very public folks, not all of them are stepping aside because they're not there for the moment, but they do recognize that somebody else needs to come in. And then you're going to have the brutally, I'm going to take advantage of this moment and I'm going to cut as much weight as possible to clear up some budget to figure out what my agentic strategy is. I'm not even calling the AI strategy anymore. What is your agentic strategy?
Yeah. Yeah. This is where I we were introducing you before this podcast started, and we said we're both AI bi-curious. But that's for me the perspective of what's it going to do for me and what's it doing for the rest of the world, because there's some certain aspects of AI that we could maybe control and design and tell it what to do. And then there's other points of this where I can't control what its perspective or perception of our brands and our clients' brands are at all. Like, we can only do so much. So there's a lot of things that are just kind of out of our control, and that's okay. So it's like you said, we have to embrace that. I'm struggling right now personally to figure out how to tell it what to do and come back to me with the result. I'm getting a little bit better about it, but it is getting to be to a point where I'm feeling like I need some inspiration to figure out what is it that I should be asking for it to do. I'd love that Tony Stark day. I would love it. I want to be able to say to a Jarvis at one point, okay, here's the client profile, here's their market, here's their ideal client profile that they're targeting. I have this platform that can do all their marketing for them. Here's the strategy docs that I've been writing up or thinking about, and I want to execute a campaign that can do A, B, and C with this result. And I need you to try it for 2 days and tell me if anything's working. If it doesn't work, stop. If it's working, keep going and amplify it. And I would love to do that like kind of discussion with it and let it run. I feel like for transactional businesses, this is possible. It's like there's only so many variables involved with the transactional work. Like, people are buying soap. Okay, do they buy it or not? But in the work that we do, the sales process is so long that the markets change from the point in which you talk to them initially to the time in which you sign the contract. So you have to adjust all the way to that point where you actually get them to close win on business. And so you're building this nurturing, schema that might be adjusting through that course of engagement. And that's where I'm hoping AI would help us be that kind of like, let's wiggle with it. I'm trying to put a lot of different little sound bites in this.
Yeah, no,
but that's,
the wiggle,
yeah,
like, so I'm getting longer in the tooth when I play basketball. I played this morning, and that's what one of my buddies. He's like, Greg, put the wiggle on him. It's just like it's almost like a dream shake.
Yeah, of course.
Hakeem Olajuwon and turn around Kobe style, but it's like
we got to do that with AI,
right? Exactly. But the thing is, again, this goes back. The reason why I have 35 Gen AI certifications is this stuff has been moving over the last couple of years, and I'm always trying to understand. Like, I have one for data visualization, I have one for vibe coding, I have one for cybersecurity, for talent, for HR, for employee experience. I'm trying to understand how it impacts and how someone would think about this and how they could do their job differently, right? And I was talking to someone recently, and they were like, "What do you think folks need to learn?" I said, "Actually, I think people need to unlearn." I said, the problem right now is we try to apply historical rationale, reason, and processes to an agentic world, and that's where it keeps blowing up in your face, right? Because the problem that you want AI to solve probably isn't the actual thing it should be trying to solve, and that should be the human side should be solving the other thing.
Yeah.
And so when people's like, oh, well, I'm scared that AI is going to replace this or it's going to do this part of my job. Versus for me, I'm like, man, I want to see all the things AI can do that I hate doing, right? And so for me, it's trying to reimagine how I actually work and where are the friction points. But I also understand that there's so many different variations and variables that are going into it. Like, someone's using a free version is a year behind from capabilities, for one.
Yeah.
Right? If you're only, I have one slide that I show now, and I would just say your AI basic is showing, right? Because you're basically just showing, I did a LinkedIn headshot, and I did a carousel, and I did like,
Yeah.
all right, cool, man, right? Like I'm building applications, websites, I'm building new business models, right? I'm like, I'm not trying to judge anyone, right? But you think about the spectrum inside of organizations. One of you, some groups are using it as Google search, and then there's people way over here doing OpenClaw that are running 2-person companies generating 6 figures in revenue, right? And it's the same underlying technology, right? But the problem is, one, the leaders have not, as my guy Alec Coughlin will say, is you got to have your hands in the dirt, right? So as a CEO, I'm like, I'm going to put my hands in the dirt. I'm going to show the team the art of what is actually possible.
I love that. Yeah.
And
Somebody's got to experiment with it, right? Somebody has to
and it's got to be, and you got to build in public, right? And I was meeting with a CEO here a couple of days ago, and she was just asking me about AI, and she's in the marketing space too. And she said something, and I told her, I was like, this warms my heart. And what she said was, I don't know what I don't know. There's so few people that are leaders that would admit what they don't know.
Yeah.
I have all these certifications, right? And there's still a ton of things I don't know. And I am okay with that, right? But other folks are like, they feel like they have to have the answers.
So 2 more questions that I have for today, and I want to make sure we cover them both. So the first will be the kid in the candy store for you. I want to talk through what your vision is for AI in the next, not year, but let's say 5 years. Like really look out, because it's going to be at echelons that maybe none of us can imagine. So you'll be the futurist. And the other thing I want to talk about is, you've mentioned this a couple times today, but you have like unlearning, you used the word un, and there were other things you talked about that were kind of, we had like to reset our minds on things. And we are both part of a conference called now Unbound.
Yeah.
Which, as I talked to some of the HubSpot folks, they told me that this should be considered an unconference, and that there's this trend now of people trying to do things in the opposite, the zigzag.
The anti-trends, like I call
the
it.
anti-trends.
Yeah.
Untrends.
The untrends.
So I thought we should also discuss the rebrand of Inbound to Unbound.
Shit, I was there last year in San Francisco, and I said when I was there.
When you say there, you're talking about the Inbound conference. Yep.
And
Was that your first conference?
That was my first time.
Okay.
Right.
All right. What was your thought about the conference in California last year for HubSpot?
Again, I've been all in on AI for the last going on 3.5 years at this point.
Yeah.
Right. It made all the sense in the world. It's like, it's not in Boston, it's in San Francisco. Like, they tried to tip their hand as much as humanly possible. We're going to do this in San Francisco. We're going to do this in the area where all AI companies are.
It's the incubator. Yeah. Yeah.
And we've hired all these people from the AI community. We've renamed and give people new titles that are AI specific.
It was like the AI incubator was in a toaster and it popped, and then out came Inbound.
But the thing that was so interesting to me, and I didn't realize this until I was just kind of like listening to the whispers and other partners. The whole reason why I got into the HubSpot partnership was because I was following them going all in on AI.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was there, and the thing that shocked me was so many partners were woefully unaware that they were moving and going all in on AI. Like, I was like, this wasn't—
Are you not listening?
This is not a secret.
Yeah.
Right. And I thought that maybe, you'll have a few whispers, but it was like the overwhelming majority. And the thing that was really shocking to me, some of the folks, even on the sales and in customer success side inside of HubSpot, seemed surprised. Some of them literally said to me, "Oh, don't worry about that. We're not really pushing that." I was like, "Oh, no, that can't be the messaging."
Yeah. Well, it's represented every year. It represents this this point where we can stop all the things that we're working on and hear from other folks about how it's going for them and understand what trends are happening. And a lot of folks they look down all year. They don't have a chance to look out. The majority has to look down every day. And they work so much in the weeds that Inbound has represented this over the years, this fusion of, let's think about what works for other organizations, but let's also introduce some new theories, let's introduce some new technologies, and let's try them together and don't be afraid about it. Then they also bring all sorts of inspirational talks in as well that really show you that the world's much bigger than your tiny little, fiefdom. And so you build a very bit different perspective about marketing and now, of course, sales, customer success, customer experience might actually represent. So the big question is, a conference that's been around for 15 years has now rebranded itself from Inbound to Unbound. What are your thoughts on that?
It made all the sense in the world, right? For me, you can't go on stage and say Inbound is broken and everything has to run into a loop. You can't go to that same conference and say AI is mediating everything that we've taught you to do. Like, you can't do these things and then stay authentic and genuine and then show up again this year and call it Inbound again.
And say the same thing, yes.
Yeah, you can't do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I thought what they did was important last year. Hey, look, we're going to move this to San Francisco. We're going to show you some new faces. We're going to show you how the world has changed. And we're hoping that you're going to change with us. And then by the time it came around this year, now we're going to call the thing Unbound. We already admitted, right, that the world has changed. The thing that was concerning, and I'll go back to like the kind of the partner side though, is I thought our job as agencies and consultancies was to be at the forefront for our clients and to see where the puck is going.
Yeah.
That was the thing that was concerning to me. It's one thing if you're a customer of HubSpot and you show up to one of these conferences and you're like, oh man, all this new stuff. But how can you be a partner being paid to be on the front end of this and have no clue how much the world has changed and what
it's all good, great point. And I don't need to go through it right now. I'm very, very involved with them. Very, very, very involved. I feel like I'm collecting Skittle stickers or something from these guys.
Oh, but I'm not blaming HubSpot. I'm talking about as a partner.
I gotcha. So what I wanted to share was that organizations like that, if you're going to put a lot of effort into it, will give you a sight line into where things are going. They can't do it for everyone because, like anything, it's like opening up everything in the kitchen sink to let everybody start rushing in and saying, I have a lot of things I want to share with you guys. I think for those partners that have a lot of passion, strategy, focus on thinking about how to leverage tools and strategies together with HubSpot, they will have a voice in where things will go. Because I'm part of that now, and I could say I'm an N=1. I'm sure of it. But at this moment, I'm experiencing a partnership with HubSpot at a very different level, where I'm helping advise things, look at stuff on UX, UI, look at stuff where features on the AI side are going, and we're doing a similar thing with Google. They're very respective. I'm actually so almost shocked about how much they're putting into our feedback, how much let's say ownership and respect they're putting into our feedback to drive where things might go next, because they want to know what works. And when I've told them before, and I'll say it here again, it's like, yes, I'm in one specific niche because it's such a vibrant community in just life sciences and healthcare, but the things that we do here could be applicable for any industry. So I feel like organizations like HubSpot that understand how to run community, that understand how to take the voice of the partners into consideration and then actually put it into practice, I very much respect these businesses.
Oh, I'm bullish on that. I was bullish on HubSpot. I continue to be bullish on it because they are willing to say the quiet part out loud. They are willing to say that we have to change. I
wish they would do more though, because I think a lot of them say a lot of stuff. I want them to show how to do it. So if there's one thing I would criticize about Inbound over the years, it's like they talk the big talk, but you really have to dig into certain sessions to figure out how to put it in place.
Well, at least what the credit I would give them is that they created a playbook, right? What I told my team, so we came up with our 4P strategy beginning of last year: podcast, partnerships, PR, and publishing. And
which I love.
Yep. The whole point of that was personality-led growth and community-led growth. When you think about podcasts, was the perfect medium. We have video, audio here. We can control our own narrative, right? The other part is the community. How do I find more inventives, more Aarons, right? How do we work together, right? And so they put out a playbook. I have not seen a single other marketing provider put any type of playbook out there to help their partner network or their customers.
Now, you guys did the thing that I feel like was missing from HubSpot. You added this layer that showed about how to put it in place.
Correct.
So the playbook for me, as much as I liked it, it's a good playbook, it's understandable, it was missing that last step. And when you buy a platform like Salesforce or like HubSpot or even other platforms like project management systems like ClickUp or Monday, you have this crazy huge white canvas again, and you don't know where to begin. And so it goes back to they don't know what they don't know. Now, you and I have a job because a lot of companies will hire us to help them figure that out. But I think what's brilliant about platforms like this is they're giving us this stage platform, ironic, coincidental, that you and I get to work in to craft it the way we need it to and tailor it for each client. And that's an important aspect of it. But if there's one thing about HubSpot's conference with Unbound now, I'm hoping that I don't want to hear the same thing year over year as you said. I want to know exactly how to put it in practice tomorrow. That's the part that I'd be most excited about.
Do you listen to much of their Marketing Gets the Green podcast or watch?
Yeah, sometimes I do. Yes, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, so I religiously have been listening to it for the last, almost 2 years now. Because when you listen to Kip and Kieran talk, they will give very specific ways to apply this. The problem is they have such a variety of types of organization. You have yours that has a niche in this area or that. But a lot of these things are applicable to all of these different organizations. My frustration is that what I always say this, I use this one graphic with a slide, and it's a hang glider in a space shuttle. And I tell people all the time, it's like, this is not another tech upgrade. It's the difference. AI is the difference between, in past digital transformation, the difference between a hang glider and a space shuttle. Sure, they have the same underneath physics, but that's where the parallels stop, right? And I said, and I always use the same Upton Sinclair quote all the time from 1934. And I said, it's difficult to get a man to understand something when his salary depends upon his not understanding it.
Yeah.
Right. And I always tell folks, I said, that's not about ignorance. It's about future shock or loss aversion. And the reality is we keep tying ourselves to our historical ways of working, our historical processes. So people will come and they'll say, well, how do you do attribution to this? Well, how do I get the click-through rates? I'm like, you're not understanding. The whole damn world has changed.
Yeah.
And you want to keep trying to tie it back to an analog past because you don't know your role in the future. And so that's why I keep saying unlearning and breaking the process. What I had to do, just a little secret as to how I came to this 4P strategy, was in December of 2024, I had an early paid version of Google's deep research, their Gemini 1.5 experimental. And I kept asking the machine, I said, if Google were to go away tomorrow, what are marketers going to do in 2025? I was pushing my brain because I'd already registered a domain.
Question.
I already registered a domain. What is AEO, or Answer Engine Optimization, in November of 2024? Nobody wanted to have the conversation. I was like, all right, whatever, man. And so I moved on. I was like, I need to figure out what I'm going to do for my company because I'm trying to help y'all. Y'all don't want to have this conversation.
Yeah, of course.
And it kept saying the same thing. Short form video, podcast, video. It kept saying affiliate marketing and communities, right? So personality-led growth, community-led growth, right? YouTube, right? Another thing, we push these on to YouTube.
Because it's not a walled garden.
It said PR.
Oh, actually, let me really quickly stop you for a second. LinkedIn or YouTube? Which would you go with?
We do both.
I know, but which would you take priority?
No, I don't view the world that way. I love all my children. So.
You have to pick one. You had to pick one.
If I had to pick one, I would go with LinkedIn right now.
But isn't it interesting that if you post things on YouTube, you do get the Google juice. If you post it on LinkedIn, it's in a walled garden, and only when people log in will they ever get to see it. And there's no SEO benefits.
But see, now you this is where we diverge, because I don't care about the SEO benefit directly. What I care about is curating my own pond. Right?
Yes.
SEO is a thing if we all assume that the only pond or ocean was Google. Now, I push myself to imagine Google going away.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So that's why I watch on LinkedIn, like I'm eating popcorn and watching people debate, well, hey, it's just SEO and this and that. I'm like, how many people clicking through to your site? Nobody, because y'all can argue about that shit all day.
I agree. AEO is not SEO. So here's my point about LinkedIn. Does the AI tools on the outside of LinkedIn can reference any information you post inside of LinkedIn? That's what I mean by like all that great work we're putting into LinkedIn.
Whether it can today is irrelevant.
Okay.
Right? The problem that people keep getting caught in, you understand in marketing, I always tell people, I said in marketing, there's 6 to 9 month lag between your actions and results.
Yeah.
Right. The problem with that is the capabilities of AI double every 6 months. And so people then create a system or a process based on what they view the world today, not versus what the thing will be capable of in 6 to 12 months. Right. So when I came up with the 4P process, the reason why I did that, because even my own chairman asked, he's like, oh, he's like, you're talking about this AEO stuff and this and that. And I was like, yeah, but once I realized, I said, if I were an LLM, right, because I like to be weird like that and assume that I can be a machine.
You are an LLM?
Yeah, right?
Okay.
It's like, if I was a machine, how would I rank authority of something? I said, I would sure as shit not just believe what you put on your own blog.
Yeah.
I was like, maybe that's a reference point. And so what I tell folks, I said, we're going to do 3 things really well at Walk West. We're going to make sure you're seen, heard, and cited, CITED, by humans and machines alike for maximum results. Because what I was trying to get across was, if I was an LLM, I would cross-reference your website, I would cross-reference LinkedIn, YouTube, other authorities in milliseconds, and then bring all that together to then come back with my recommendation.
Yeah.
That is not how we've built marketing for the last 20 years.
Yeah.
We've told people you need to optimize, because people are like, well, how are you optimizing your site? I'm like, man, if you don't stop talking about your own site, you better show up. Somebody else needs to give you the credibility.
So if you had no budget and you want to be heard, seen, and cited, where do you do that?
I would go on LinkedIn,
Yep.
YouTube.
Yep.
Right? When you say relatively no budget, and the same things that we're doing, I would lean in some of the communities. I would show up at more events.
Yep.
Again, there's a trust deficit that's happening right now, right? And people are like, oh, it's the same sea of sameness online. I was like, yeah, because I'm not focused and worried about that. Where I'm different is I tell people all the time, I said, in a world where in this content we created to push a button, I said the difference between you and I is I can be on camera, on stage, on point all the time. That is the difference.
Yeah.
Like if you'd have met me 2 years ago, I wasn't out front like that. The reason why I'm out front like now is because our environment in the world requires that. There are literally jobs right now that are called CEO storytellers.
Yep.
Because they've figured out that you'll get more visibility through your executive team. Ask HubSpot. They literally have all of their folks coordinating and posting things on LinkedIn. They're creating a network effect of their executives.
You shared something that I want to maybe finish with, but I still want to get your quick take on where we are in 5 years. But one thing that you said, Greg, which I think we should all try to take home is if you have no budget, you got to still show up. And I think for at least our clients, going to a conference and showing up is definitely step one. Sharing that experience about what you've learned from that conference is your thought leadership. It's your people vicariously living through your experiences. It's building a voice for yourself. And I think that's the part that gets you set up for the site that you were being cited and earning that media. Because I never thought of it in this way recently. I mean, we've had some people I didn't even win these clients over the years. We had one client that was prospective client, that was so active in all the different conferences that he really he gamed the entire algorithm. He would just show up at a show and talk about what he saw. Took a lot of pictures and just kept putting it up on LinkedIn. And this is so many years ago. This is like 8-9 years ago. He was so ahead of everybody else even thinking about this stuff because he started showing up everywhere. People just expected him to be at all the shows at that point. And that kind of shared experience that he was putting out on LinkedIn, I feel people have been trying to capitalize it a lot more these days, but they do it in such an inauthentic way or unauthentic way that it doesn't have the same kind of power that he had initially. Because it was very innocent. It was like, I am in this role. I'm not the CEO of a company, but I'm so interested in science. I'm just going to be excited about what I'm seeing at these shows. And he built a voice for himself and for the company. And I think that's built him a really great base over the years. That had a lot of staying power. It built a brand that I think they were able to really capitalize on eventually.
He combined personality-led growth and community-led growth
together. Yeah,
he
did
curated
naturally.
his pond.
Yep.
My concern, and when I kept trying to explain this at the end of 2024, I said, people they keep asking me, like, why am I doing this so much? Why am I pushing the team to do this? What I'm highly concerned about, and I'll get back to in 5 years at some point whenever we want to talk about that, but a year from now, 2 years from now, the people that have not curated ponds that are still trying to gamify Google, like, I am highly concerned for those, because I ask people all the time, I say, where are you going to fish? It's like, you have not invested any time in curating your own community in your own pond. You've not seeded with anything, right? You're still talking about gamifying something in which Google themselves say they want to own the entire experience from end to end. They don't want you fishing.
Yeah.
You are on rented land to begin with.
Exactly. Yes.
And I would bet dollars to donuts that when Google I/O next month, they're going to say, yeah, we are flipping the switch to AI mode almost exclusively.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's game over if you've not curated your own pond.
I agree. I have had a little bit of insight into where Google might be going with some of the tools as we're beta testing them now. And I want it to be easier. I think they're still trying to give it a more iterative process of rollout, what the functions might be. I kind of wanted to just be like, get rid of all the clutter. Just tell me what's important. And if people really want to get a hold of me, they know how to call me. It's like, there was even a point in time where I was just like, I'm not going to read my email. If they want to call me, if they really want to talk to me, just call me. This was a number of years ago. I wasn't getting like 150 emails a day or more. And so for now, I think what the AI hope to do would be, like you said earlier, it's like, can it allow us to just be focused on what we're good at instead of all the minutia? I really do hope that. Okay, so let's talk about the 5-year outlook.
Oh, man.
You have 5 words I'm just joking.
Wow.
In 5 words, predict the future of AI in 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, well, first thing, so Dr. Westerman at MIT, he said in the course I took last year, he said, if someone asks you for your 5-year plan, tell them that you're already 10 years off the moment they ask you the question. He said, because the advancements of AI,
of course.
he's like, we are in the space and no one can predict. But what I do think will end up happening is, I think you're going to have a lot of much smaller, people-wise, smaller companies are going to be out there.
Okay.
Right. I think that
More companies, but
I think
smaller
there are going to
teams?
be more companies, a lot more companies, but a lot smaller companies.
Yeah.
And people.
Interesting.
Right. I think that because these tools, if you understand, my chairman and I, we've created 3 new companies in the last 9 months.
Yeah.
Right. And 2 of them already have over 6 figures in revenue.
Yeah.
Right. Once you start to understand how to leverage these tools to do all the mundane tasks, we always say, let the machines handle the routine, let the humans handle the remarkable. Once you can bifurcate.
I love his sayings, by the way. They're awesome. Quotable quotes.
But once you can bifurcate the things that you don't actually need to do.
Yeah.
I mean, as knowledge workers, we spend 50 to 60% of our work week searching for things to do our job, copying and pasting, reformatting data.
Yeah.
Go-to-market or salespeople spend 70% of their time doing administrative tasks. 70%. So that means there's only 30% that they can actually be present and actually closing deals and meeting new folks.
Exactly.
So my hope is, 1, we get that time back. But 2, I got to imagine as companies start to get smaller, that's going to create a lot of opportunity. It's going to create a significant amount of incumbent disruption, because if you are a laggard, and I get it, it's going to be hard for big companies to move or to change. That just means there's going to be a bunch of nimble folks that are now had an idea, they had a level of expertise. And I talk about this across all industries. There is not a single one. Someone that tried to have a debate with me and talking about, well, what about plumbers and this and that? I said, let me explain this to you. If I want to start a plumbing company today, right, I would do it. All the back office would be AI. My SDR would be AI. Everything would be agentic. I would pay my plumbers 30% more money. So I'm going to have the best damn plumbers.
Yeah.
I'm going to be 30% faster.
I might need one of those
you,
plumbers soon.
Right? I'm going to be 30% more profitable.
Yeah.
I'm going to be 30% cheaper. I said, I'm going to undercut your whole market. And I literally had I was having this conversation at the coffee shop with that same CEO from the marketing company. And I was explaining that to her, right? And I said, BlackRock has invested significantly in acquiring these HVAC and trade holding companies.
Yeah.
And so I got up, we were leaving the coffee shop. And this is a true story because I connected with the guy on LinkedIn after. It was 2 guys sitting next to us that have been listening to my whole kind of, impromptu TED Talk, right? And they say, hey, man, if you start that trade business, or that AI plumber, we'd love to talk. We both work at BlackRock. They were both, and we were right next door.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and so we connected on LinkedIn, and after that. But the whole point of it is it's everywhere. It's going to disrupt everything. So what I imagine is there's going to be agentic every industry that you could ever imagine in 5 years. And the people that lean in today, the people that learn today, right, I think are going to have a competitive advantage that it's going to be, we're just going to be so far ahead, right? You and I talked off camera, right? Did you look at when I was talking about Scott Brinker's Martech law from 2013?
No, I didn't see that. No.
Okay, so when I was in Bogota, Colombia speaking, I think I was texting you about something.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, I said, I'm going to show this one slide. And 13 years ago, Scott Brinker put this Martech law, and he basically said that the marketing technology capabilities grow exponentially, but the adoption is logarithmic, and it's very kind of, basically, he was basically saying the gap is widening 13 years ago. And then so I posted something the other day, and Scott liked it, and it was like, hey, if you add AI into the equation now, you start going from co-pilots to agentic AI. Now you're talking about that gap is going to be 5 to 10x.
Yeah, exactly.
I said, I am very fearful of at what point is it going to be so far, the technology from the people that are doing it, that these people are going to be able to be upskilled.
Yeah.
Because people are still waiting on the sidelines saying, yeah, I might try that in 2027. I might get me a ChatGPT.
It's going to be too late. It's going to be too late. I do agree about the smaller, nimbler teams. I actually didn't think of it in that way. It's like a SEAL Team 6 of sorts. You bring your full stack
I might own 20
folks
companies in
at that point.
5 years from now. I told my chairman, I said, hey, man, if this shit don't work out at Walk West, I'm just going to start 20 companies that each make $50,000 a year.
Spin up you could spin up a company every week.
That's what I told him. He didn't understand it at first. And then he said, he's never written code in his life, but now he's using Claude, he's using Lovable creating. He said, hey man, he called me one day. I finally understand what you've been saying.
I do hope that, here's my last thing I'll say. I do hope that AI for us will at some point put some of the work that we do in our agency, lightning in a bottle, and we could create our own like inventive bot that if people can't afford hiring the entire agency, they can bring in some of our insights, still using some of the theories and tools that we might be leveraging with some human interactions here and there. But the whole point was, let's make it easy for them. And we've learned so much from all the work over the years that this could be something that at least starts a low barrier of entry to start thinking about working with an agency. So that would be one interesting thing. I hope also AI lets us be kinder to each other in the future, kinder to the environment as well. It makes it just a lot easier for us, a lot lighter for us. And we're not so like weighed down by all the other anxieties that we're dealing with all the time, that AI sees some patterns about what if we tried this, and you could be a little bit better about how we treat your environment or how we treat each other. I hope it could do that for us.
I think, just to that point, man, like I always tell folks, I'm like, the goal, even here at Walk West, every single employee has at least one Gen AI certification. Because I try to explain to folks, I say, my goal is to make sure that I increase your quality of work, which will then increase your quality of life, right? And so as bullish as I am on AI, I'm also very bullish on humanity. And what I try to get across to folks all the time, again, is like, you're stressed and you're frustrated because you're doing this thing that you don't want to do. Like, we have to admit that, right? Like, I used to spend so much time with my direct reports creating board decks. I'm talking about days sometimes. I ain't spending more than 30 minutes now on a deck. I know how to use all these tools now. My team knows how to use all these tools, right? So now we can go have strategic conversation. We can go, have a walk and talk over coffee and not feel any guilt at all because we know we can get to that work. Mm-hmm. I also recently with my co-founder, I've created a lab, RDU Labs, Mark Bavasoto and I, and it's for giving greater access and being more AI equitable, if you will, right? For like trade organizations, small business, to your point, because I think we're about to enter a world in the next 5 years that's going to be the have and the have-nots.
Yeah.
The big companies are going to be able to do these things, and I want to make sure that I'm doing everything I know that to be able, and everything in my power to give people access that may not have the dollars, may not have the knowledge. I'm like, who are we to be these gatekeepers of these things? But I am seeing some people that are like, no, I'm not telling people, my secret sauce. I'm like, hey man, that ain't gonna be secret for like 6 months. Like to your point, like when we met, the reason why I was so thankful to the fact that, and I knew I was like, we're gonna hit this off because he views the world the way I do. There can never be too much, competition or like I can't serve every single client.
Yeah.
The whole reason I started AI Voice of Victim podcast, and my chairman asked me beginning of last year, he said, why do you call it that? I said, by the end of 2025, people are going to feel like they're victims and nobody told them. I said, I can't have that on my conscience.
Yeah.
I was like, because once you see how you can do these things, and my team is seeing, they're not going to do math by hand again. They're never going to do it.
Yeah.
You can't go back.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree. And I think it's beautiful that you're putting some thought into how to become a mentor for the industry with this RDU Labs thing you're talking about. I think that my role as well, I'm trying to move more into that mentorship thing. I'll be speaking at some schools and trying to speak at more conferences as well. I just try to share. I want to be sharing more of what we've learned and how to help people kind of make it work for them too.
One of the things that I think is missing, and I meant to bring this up earlier when we were talking about the personality-led growth and like being on stage. And I realized this especially over the last 3 years as AI has kind of advanced, is there's a lot of senior executives and CEOs in particular that will never do what you and I are doing in being on camera and being vulnerable. Like, I don't know if you've recognized that, but I mentor and I advise folks, they have built their whole careers staying behind the screen. And that's going to be a challenge.
So one of the people I got to meet that came into town, big pharma company, if she says the wrong thing in front of the wrong people, the stock goes down and billions of dollars are lost and people lose jobs and markets change. And so would I love to be Tim Cook for a day? Sure. Would I probably destroy the company in one day? Probably, because I'll say something really stupid.
But I ain't even talking about that big. I'm talking about there's going to be a lot of companies of our size that will not be in business in 2027.
Because they just won't put it out there.
They will not put it out there.
Yeah.
I have talked to these companies and I'm saying, man, go do this. They're like, oh, I can never do that. And I'm like, well, what's the alternative? Like,
that's the authenticity that I'm looking for. And I think that when people come and work with us, I try to tell them, it's in one of our slides as well. It's like we This is who we are and how we operate. And the brands that we help are basically going to become this too. You're going to be transparent. You're going to be fun to work with. You're just going to be friendly. You're going to be accessible. You're going to try things. You're going to be out there. And if they don't agree with that, you don't need to work with us. Like so we tell them that. We actually even have a little unicorn on one of our slides that's like, we want to be fun to work with. You want to be fun to work with. We don't want to make this into like a weird thing. And so when we're doing our pitch, they actually giggle at us and we're like, we want to be friendly and fun and we want to enjoy this. We're spending most of our time with you guys. So if we can't enjoy it, then what's the point?
Well, that's why in 5 years, you're going to be wildly successful. Your team is going to be wildly successful, right? But I'm telling you point blank, because I advise a lot of people, I'm like, you have got to figure out, and I tell people all the time, I say, you have to find someone that's going to be a spokesperson.
Yeah.
Someone has to be out in front. Now, again, I'm not talking about the big end customers that we work with. I am fearful for other agencies, other consultancies, other types of businesses. And I'm like, you've gamified everything down to a digital footprint. And now the world requires you to be a human and out front. And that is going to be your downfall.
I can't agree more. I don't like to talk in double negatives, but I will say, I'm going to keep going back to something you said earlier. This small, nimble team, that idea is probably going to happen because the enablement tools that weren't there 20 years ago, 25 years ago exist now. So when I thought about building a company when I was leaving school, I was thinking about all the formalities. You need a CEO and a COO and a CFO and blah, 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 all these C's. And at this point, why do you need any of it? If you can just be these are the solopreneur concept in the gig economy that actually came and went, obviously, to a certain degree. And we kind of like do this universal thing of expansion and contraction. But when it comes to being seen as a company, respected as a company, and you have certain kind of talent that you could say we all can bring certain interesting things to the table, but we're full stack. I think that's actually, when I was talking to the video crew here, hi video crew, we were coming in here and getting set up this morning. There were 4 folks in the room. And I said, are you guys all full stack? Do you all have to know everything? Are you all lighting, sound, and design, and
what did
all
they
this?
say?
And
okay,
they're all doing. We're all doing all the things. So I think that the concept of full stack is maybe more the norm. And what we have to do next is, what are we bringing to the table on top of that talent? That's why I kind of go back to, maybe a bad term to say it, but SEAL Team 6. It's like these folks have to be able to drop in and change and be a catalyst for change and do it immediately. Hopefully they don't do it violently. Yeah. They do it. They're not a victim. They're a voice.
They are a voice. And I hope there are more voices like yourself, Aaron. I think that the world requires more generalists, right? And even in the marketing world, I tell folks, I'm like, oh, it's like, I'm a field marketer, I'm a content marketer, I'm a social marketer. I said, do you aspire to be a CMO? Absolutely. I said, well, you can only do one thing. So you have to break that.
Yeah.
Right. But no, man, I really appreciate the opportunity to partner with you, to talk to you, to learn from you, right? You know so much about HubSpot, so much about marketing, so much about the industry. And again, you're just a genuinely good human. And so I'm at this point in my career. I've exited multiple times. I've done well for myself and for those around me. But now I'm in this stage. I'm like, I just want to work with people I want to work with, man. So
yeah.
I like working with you, so I appreciate it.
I love that too. And I aspire to do more what you do too. I wish at some point I could get out there more to share more of our stories and have a team that I feel like you have built here, where they can really handle all the ins and outs of the business, and you could be out there sharing the story more with more people. I aspire to do that. I would love to write a book one day too. I'm not sure how hard that is, but I don't want to say it's easy.
No, but there's some folks here at Walk West that can help you. So
okay, all right, we'll keep that going.
So one of the things we like to do on AI Voice of Victim, at the very end, we like to throw a little wrinkle in here and ask you, first, what is your AI tool of choice? What's the foundational model that you use the most?
I have recently switched.
Oh, I'm
going to
guess you're going to say you went from ChatGPT to Claude, but what did you switch to?
I went from OpenAI and ChatGPT to Gemini.
Really?
I went to Gemini.
Okay.
I could explain a little bit more why if you'd like to hear why.
I want to hear why. No.
Okay. We're a Google company, so everything we do is in the Google ecosystem. We use Google Workspace for everything. And as I started to realize you can connect tools to OpenAI, that's totally fine. And we've connected HubSpot, and we've connected Google and other tools as well. But there was something that happened recently where Gemini, I call it Gemmy, Gemini inside of our workspace started to have a lot more value. We had a client come to us and say, I am being challenged with this very, very difficult problem. Did we ever discuss it on any of our meetings? And we're also using the HubSpot tools too to track our meetings, but we've been using Google Meet for everything. We don't use Zoom anymore. That's been for the last 2 years. Our clients look at us really strange when they have to get on a Google Meet, by the way. I can't believe that's still a thing. But when I went to Gemini and our team went to Gemini, I said, I have a client that has a concern. It's this group. I need to figure out every single instance this person ever talked about this particular thing. I need to have a way to answer their question, their concern, and I need to get this all together right now. And it searched our entire drive. It was connected to the drive. It was connected to our meetings, and that changed me. And I just started going back to my team, and I'm like, we pay for enterprise. We should try this tool. And if it doesn't work, fine, continue using Claude. Like our writers love Claude. Our developers love Claude. My wife actually just loves Chatty G. I call it Chatty G in the GPTs. Chatty G. And so for us to make that switch is a very almost emotional thing. My wife said we share the same Chatty G. So we're in the same account. And I was paying $200 a month for a while, but I stopped. And she said to me, it knows me. And I said, yeah, I know that. But there is actually a way for you to export out all of those chat and just load it into Google Gemini and start again. And that I think for her, she's still going to stay in Chatty G. But yeah, I switched to Gemini. I know that might sound crazy, but
it's not that it's crazy. We're a Google Workspace company also. So Gemini is our corporate model, if you will, right? But we still also recently we showed folks how they can do certain things with Claude, and you connect Claude to your G Drive and your calendar. I was asking Becky to do something for me the other day on my calendar. I said, "Oh, never mind," and I just told Claude Cowork to go do the thing. And because I didn't want, I did in 5 minutes.
Yeah,
and I didn't want her to spend an hour doing this thing that was mind numbing, right? And so I called her before. I was like, "Hey, I know I just asked you to do that, but don't do it," right? But anyway, so it makes a lot of sense once you start to understand the power of a lot of these things. And I thought that switching costs was going to be a lock-in with memory too, but it's not as much. Actually, probably weird. Erica, my co-host, her and her husband were sharing an account at one point. Then it starts to mix context at times, so that's not a good idea.
Oh no, it's not. So, you don't want to share an account,
right? So I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
So now I got to ask you then. So what is the last thing that you chatted with Gemini? You got to pull your phone out, or you got to recall.
Last thing that I did with Gemini,
and then I'm going to do the same. What's this last chat?
Okay, I have probably the biggest thing that I've been doing lately that I've done with Gemini is I am asking it as an agent of sorts to go out and do a task for me. And recently, I know that, okay, this is really it feels a little random, but completely unrelated to our work every day, but it is related to the podcast. We really want to upscale our equipment. And I went to film school, but I went to film school so long ago that it was actually film that we were using in school. So one of the things that I want to relearn again is what kind of equipment should we be considering if we want to upscale our studio environment? And so I frustratingly said, you are a recent film school grad. I actually did the whole thing where you give it a role. You were hired on by a company to go out and do the research to figure out what kind of equipment you're going to get. And if you don't get it right, the company's going to be wasting a ton of money and you're going to lose your job. I said something like that. And the biggest problem I'm having is I can't spend more than $5,000, $6,000. The camera can't overheat. It's got to be for this and that. I don't know about the lenses. I don't know about this and that. So go do all of it. And when you're done, I needed to know exactly which camera and rig I need to buy. And it worked for about 2 hours. It went out and did all this research, pulled all these things. It pulled it down from Adorama. Is that one of the companies? Not a sponsor. B&H. It went to the Panasonic websites. It went to the Sony websites. It pulled all this research together, and I watched it working. I would check in on it. And when the report came back, it did give me an answer. Does everybody want to know the answer? And so for me, it was...
Tune in next time.
Tune in next time. That for me, there was a realization that I could have wasted days and days and days. And when it was all said and done, I said, okay, I want that equipment. Go figure out where to buy it. So it connected me up with the main vendor, the company to get the rig from, where to buy all the accessories, the lighting kits, and it put the entire list together. And it said, if you use these coupons, I was like, Greg, I was thinking, this would have taken me days. If I told one of my team members to do it, it would have taken them maybe days, if not weeks. So Gemini, I could have done that in OpenAI, sure, too. But that, to me, was like a complete lift. I was like, great, I don't have to worry about this. And now I know what I'm going to buy.
That's such an amazing use case. And we always teach people, we call it RGCC, which is for a good prompt: role, goal, context, constraint.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Give it a role, give it a goal that you want to accomplish, give it the context, and then give it the constraints. You told
And I
it
said
the
it would get
price.
fired.
And
I don't want to lose my job. Yeah.
but the reality also is that an AI basic person would have just treated it like Google search and said, "Tell me the stores near me to go look."
Or I need to shoot podcasts. What's the camera for me?
Yeah.
Like, give me the best. It'll write the same thing. The listicles that are out there, probably saturating the web with all
That
sorts
people
of
are gamifying?
falsities. Yeah, and they're just going to basically say, give me the top 10 cameras I need to buy under $5,000 for your entire set, rig, and everything, and it just gives them an article reference link or whatever the heck it would do. And those feel like the situations where like a person's buying a place or a person's selling a place, and if you ask AI the same exact question for those two different roles, they're going to give you the opposite answer. It's just trying to make you happy. So it's like, I didn't want it to make me happy. I wanted to save my job. And that was a really funny thing. And it had to make a decision. It was kind of funny.
That's cool. That's why I don't debate with people about AEO anymore. When I try to explain, it's like, if you keep asking in the same context, it's going to infer that you didn't like the list, and it's going to just give you new names, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't understand how these machines actually work.
Yeah.
The thing that's awesome. The one I use this quite often is I know that I can get too technical with certain terminology, and someone was asking me something about all of these very technical terms, and so I was like, all right, here's what I would say.
Yeah.
Here's the level of which I want you to communicate this back. Here are the terms. Give it to, if this was a high school student, right? And it helped me, craft the right. I still wrote the email and the response, right? But it actually parsed out my overly technical view, because you asked me a very technical thing, but I realized that you don't want me to respond
In a technical
very
way.
technical way.
Yeah.
And so it helped me actually have kind of bridge the gap in more layman's terms, if you will. And I do that quite a bit. But again, that's just from a chat perspective. I do a lot more with AI. But I appreciate you playing Last Chat and being on AI Voice of Victim. You are much more AI savvy than I.
That you thought it was?
Yeah,
well,
man.
You're doing some stuff where you connect all the chatty bots, and I got to learn how to do more of that.
Let's do it. I appreciate it, man. Thanks for all the time.
Thanks for joining us on AI Voice or Victim. If you want to stay competitive in the age of AI, start now. Take one insight from today's episode and put it into practice in the next 24 hours. Make sure to follow us, share your thoughts, and subscribe for more actionable AI insights. See you next time.